Have you ever found yourself overeating or having more unhealthy foods than's good for you? So you're not alone. At the time of this recording, it's just after Halloween, and many people are finding themselves faced with this exact situation. Maybe they overdid it at the Halloween parties or trick-or-treating. Maybe it's facing the leftovers, the chocolates, the lollies, the chips, the crackers, the nuts, the cakes, the treats. Maybe you just overate whatever food was available to you. Well, if that's you, I want to help you today. I want to help you get back on track towards your goals. And I'm going to share in this video what are the 3 biggest mistakes that I see most dieters make when they overeat or eat unhealthily, and my tips for what to do instead. Of course, this isn't just for Halloween. It's useful for any time that you've overeaten or eaten unhealthily. And when we have weight to lose, that's often how we got there in the first place. If you are joining me live, hi, say hi, let me know in the comments. If you're watching replay, type replay. And let me know, what was the last thing you overate? Why don't we share with each other? For those of you that don't know me, hi, I'm Brian. I'm a life coach and weight loss coach, and I help serial dieters get off the weight loss roller coaster. I help them transform their thinking, change their habits, and actually create a life they can live. We want to be able to sustain our goals. And I know I've done it. I've lost 50 kilos. I've maintained that loss for over 13 years now, including every holiday season, every festive occasion, every holiday, every birthday, every travel. So I want to share some of that wisdom with you. Firstly, what do we do wrong? Well, most people, when we realize we've overeaten, right? And usually it's because our bodies told us. You know, sometimes we're not even conscious of overeating, but we feel that I'm stuffed, I'm full, I feel sick, I know I've eaten too much. Feeling. And sometimes we even know it as we're doing it. So the first mistake that most people make is actually beating yourself up over it. So the very first thing I want you to do is to not do that, to give yourself some break, to have some compassion. You know, this journey to a healthy life is not ever about being perfect. It's about learning what works for you and what doesn't. And remembering along the way that you are a human with a human brain that likes to make habits and routines, and chances are you've probably practiced your overeating habits many, many times. Especially in holidays, special occasions, birthdays, Halloween, Christmas, Easter, all of these sorts of occasions where we have foods that are out of our normal routine, or there's additional social pressure. So firstly, don't get sucked into self-criticism. Don't say mean, hurtful, terrible things to yourself. It's what most people do. We beat ourselves up and we say, oh, you're no good, you're hopeless, you're just stupid, why would you do that? How could you let yourself? Don't do that. Remember that this is just one moment in your journey. And you're not bad, you're not weak-willed, you're not a horrible person. You're human and you made a decision. Your brain thought that was a good idea at the time. Maybe you weren't really thinking. Maybe you were just repeating old habits that you've practiced many times, like brushing your teeth, like getting dressed. I'm sure most of you don't think about those as being bad things. And if you've practiced overeating or unhealthy eating, particularly at special occasions, or really at any time in your life, it's just a habit. It's just at the same level in your brain as brushing your teeth. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe for you it was a conscious choice. This was an exception. Okay. But let's understand that, right? And let's have some self-compassion. Let's not judge it. It's just a habit. It's a choice that you've made. And now you get to choose to keep making that choice or to do something else. We can ask, did this choice serve us? Did it move me forward towards my goals? And if so, yes, do I want to keep it? And if not, no. What will I do differently? Right? Notice it's just a neutral choice. And you have the choice to choose again right now. Now let me just say here that if beating ourselves up worked, there'd be an awful lot more healthy people than there are. Most of us have tried self-criticism for many, many times, years, decades. It never works. It never certainly works for the long term. Sometimes it can get us moving, but when we're trying to change from hating ourselves, from not liking ourselves, we don't want to sustain it. And even if we get to goals, we don't want to keep it because it's a horrible place to be in, to be criticized, to be judged, to be talked down to all of the time. So step one, let's stop beating ourselves up. Let's not make that mistake. And let's treat ourselves with empathy, compassion, and honesty. You're a human who has the power to make a choice. You get to make another one. I'll come back to that shortly and what to do next. So that's mistake number one, beating ourselves up. Let's not do that. Number two is very often I see people then trying to restrict, to overcompensate, to try and cut back and be good. And this mistake of trying to balance it out. Sometimes we hear about you have to have everything in a healthy balance. Oh, well, if I've overeaten here, I'll just undereat here, and that'll make it into a healthy balance. No. Two unhealthy choices does not make it healthy. A healthy balance is about getting the right amount of the right food for your body so that your nutritional needs are met, that your hunger is solved and satiated, and so that you get to experience your joy and pleasure in eating and in your food, rather than being afraid of it, rather than feeling like it's in control. It never is. And unfortunately, that I understand that desire, right? That many people want to go, oh, well, I'll just eat less the next day. The trouble is then it doesn't, I just talked about you have to get your nutritional needs. We're probably not going to get your nutritional needs in it. You're cutting back kilojoules, but you're missing out on what your body needs. You're probably not going to solve your hunger. You're probably feeling deprived, going without. And of course, most of us know that getting to starving, getting to ravenous often leads us to, low blood sugar level moments. It leads it to mindless, fast overeating occasions. That's just setting us up for another failure. Cutting back reinforces an unhealthy relationship with food. It's either good or bad, and you're good or bad for having it. No. It's just food. Some of it is healthy, some of it serves our nutritional needs, and some of it doesn't. Some of it's discretionary foods, some of it's just about joy and pleasure. And in the end, a healthy balance means getting the right amount of the right food for your body. So cutting back, going under, eliminating foods, again, never works. It's not a healthy relationship with all foods. It doesn't help you have your healthy relationship with your treat foods or your indulgent foods. And you're also doing that, not developing that healthy relationship with your healthy foods. That they can be a source of joy and pleasure. And you can learn to eat just until you're perfectly satisfied, what I call peak satisfaction. So we're no longer overeating. Right? Coming back, going without, fasting, depriving, cleansing, just gets us into unhealthy spirals. And by the way, when it comes to cleansing, remember, your body has organs that are doing that all day, every day. You have lungs that cleanse your air, and liver that filters out your blood, and kidneys that filter out waste. You have a system that's cleansing you all of the time. Mistake number 3. Punishing yourself with exercise. Having to go hard or work it off. Having to do extra. In perhaps a vain effort to undo what you've done. We can't undo what we've done. We can only move forward into our new healthy life, into a new healthy relationship. And that whole cycle of having to work it off or having to earn those treat foods in the first place. Again, is a really unhealthy punishment-reward relationship between exercise and food. And the truth is that most people dramatically overestimate the amount of kilojoules they're burning off in their exercise and dramatically underestimate the energy of the food. They underestimate how much activity is required to burn off the kilojoules that they've had. And that's because moving the large muscles of our body, our exercise component, contributes about 20% to the kilojoules we burn off in a day. And so if you've had an overeating occasion that requires 3 hours or 7 hours worth of moderate intensity exercise to burn back off, chances are you probably can't fit that into your day. We end up in things like we're over-exercising, doing bigger, longer sessions, rather than a session that is just the healthy amount for us. We put our body at greater risk of injury. And of course, meanwhile, we're developing that unhealthy relationship between exercise and food. We want a healthy relationship with our food and a healthy relationship with our exercise. Remember, mostly we want to be doing exercise for its mental health benefits, for its physical health benefits, improving our blood pressure and cholesterol, our fitness, our aerobic capacity, improving our immune system. We want to do it for all the benefits, and it will help us change shape and size. But when it comes to losing weight, between 75-80% around there is controlled from the food that we eat. So do your exercise, but do the healthy amount that is sustainable for you, that you find joy and pleasure in, that works for you, rather than having to work it off. When we rely on our exercise to manage our weight, we set ourselves up for failure if we become ill or injured, or our circumstances change and we're not able to keep doing what we have been doing. I always like to say you can't out-exercise an unhealthy diet. So let's get the food right and add in the exercise, right? Let's find that healthy balance. Okay. So I want you to think about if you've been ever tempted to do any of those three things. To beat yourself up, or to cut back your food, or to restrict, deprive, or to over-exercise in order to compensate for an unhealthy or an overeating occasion. I'd like to invite you to just stop doing that now. Here's what I think you should do instead, and here's what I found works for me and my clients. And that is to start with, firstly, awareness. Right? We do have to become aware of what we're doing. What is the habit? What are your triggers? Right? So firstly, I encourage you to journal about your experience. Write it down. What actually happened? How much did you actually eat? As best you can remember, or drink. Put it down. Actually write it down. If you've got a food diary or something like that, record it. Food tracking app. Write down everything that you can remember. Really own it. And remember, it's not about seeing the kilojoules rack up, or the points if you're on a WW system, or the macros in the fats, the sugars, the salts. It's instead just bring your awareness and ownership and responsibility. This is what I did, right? Remember, we're not going to beat ourselves up for it. We're just going to notice it. And then we want to, and so we can remember it. So write it down while it's fresh, right? Make a note of it. And then think about, well, what were my triggers? Was it just the sight, the smell of the food? Was it the social environment? Was the people I was with? Was it the occasion? Is it this a ritual or a custom that I always do at this time with these people when I'm in this situation? What was your emotional state? What time was it? Really pay attention to what was really going on. What was going on in your mind? What were you thinking? And how are you feeling? The power of bringing your awareness to this and actually making notes about it really lets you see patterns and trends, lets you understand what your habits actually are. Now that's useful because when you start to identify your triggers, you see those patterns and trends, then you can start to brainstorm solutions, alternative behaviors that you'd like to be doing instead. You can be aware of the triggers rather than just unconsciously responding to them. So firstly, own it. Write it down. I so often see people going, "Oh, that was an unhealthy choice. I don't want to write that down. I want my journal, my food diary to look perfect." But who are you kidding? You're just denying yourself the opportunity to have useful information that can help you transform and help you change. So awareness first. That's always what I teach. You want to come to awareness as best you can. Number 2, we need understanding and compassion, not judgment. Right? We want to treat ourselves kindly. What would you say to a friend who had hurt themselves in some way, or made an unhealthy choice or an unwise choice, who had done something damaging or ill thought out, but had these goals about looking after themselves and being healthy? Would you instead come to encouragement and empathy, concern? Would you show them love? So think about that. How would you speak to yourself if you were bringing compassion? And as I said, by jotting it down, by looking at our triggers and looking at the exact actions you took, you can ask now, well, what did I learn? What do I understand about myself better, or understand about this situation better that I didn't understand before? What hadn't I anticipated? What was unexpected at this event? Or if it was expected, okay, what was my plan going in? Did I have one? Most people go in without a plan except for cross your fingers and hope, apart from willpower, apart from just be good, and discipline and focus. It almost never works, right? Willpower is a very short-term thing, and remember, it wears down all the decisions we make, with all of the decisions we make. So if your party's in the afternoon or the evening, if you've got lots of decisions, particularly if it's unfamiliar foods or unusually high social pressure or expectations, your brain's going to have to make a lot more decisions. So your willpower's probably going to run out much sooner. So willpower's a terrible resource to be relying on here. What else could you do instead to set yourself up? How can you look after yourself, and how can you cater for yourself? Can you plan ahead your portions? Can you take healthier options to have there? Can you move yourself physically away from the food? Can you stop and listen to your body? So many techniques that you can use, right? Can you come up with a plan for what to do next time? Especially if it was expected. I knew I was going to be in this environment. I knew I'd be likely to overeat. Okay. Well, how can I make healthy decisions for me in the future? If you're not sure, maybe there's an opportunity here to reach out for support. Talk to a family member or a friend who knows what you're doing and knows why it matters to you. Not just someone expecting that they'll support you, but someone you've set up as being ready, willing, and able to provide the actual support you need. Perhaps you need some expert advice, a dietitian, a nutritionist, a GP. Perhaps you need a coach, someone who can talk this through, who's been there, who knows what it's like, who can help you understand why you're doing it and come up with strategies to use instead. So awareness, understanding, compassion. And part 3, it's make a decision. Remember, we said it's just one moment in your life. It's just one occasion. So now it's time to make a decision. Right? What do you want to do now? And the option is always there just to recommit to your goals, to re-envision the person you want to be, the healthy life you want to be living, to get in touch with it, to connect with it right now and go, oh, actually, this is what I want. I can I can rededicate myself to my intention. I can come up with an action plan. I love decisions ahead of time. I love making a plan because if we make those decisions in advance, we don't have to make them in the moment when we have that lower cognitive load. So, how can you support yourself moving forward? If you have more of the temptation foods around, can you discard them? Can you actually throw them away? They're going in the waste anyway? Going in the waste or on the waste? You get to choose which one you want. Also, make a note. If I overcated, if there was too much there, more than necessary, I need to remember to buy less next time. Start with a smaller amount, or to have healthier options available. Can you give them away if you don't want to throw them away? Can you freeze them or portion them out? Can you plan them in? One of my superpowers, if you like, growing up. And I guess this has really served me once I decided to do something about my extra weight. Was I used to be able to portion out things really well. For instance, often at Easter we would get like a dozen hollow eggs, like the shape of normal eggs. And I had worked out in my mind that that was 12 months worth of chocolate if I had one egg per month. So I used to just space them out. So I guess that's a power I have. Not everyone has that one, of course. But the idea is you can plan and portion them in. And regardless of all of that, remember, now is the moment to create your healthy life, right? You can go back to normal healthy eating. Remember, the right amount of the right food for your body right now. It's what you do consistently that counts. So plan out your very next choice. What is your next food decision? Can you make it a healthy choice? And can you have it in a healthy amount? Remember, you always have a choice. Our life is the sum total of all of our choices. That really does make up the experience of our life. It's just the sum total of all the decisions we've made in our life so far. And our healthy life is the accumulation of more healthy choices. A healthy life is the accumulation of more healthy choices. So when do you have the opportunity to make one? Right now. In this moment, in the present. You can make another healthy choice. So why not make that one and move closer towards your healthy life? For many people, Halloween marks the start of the festive season, or silly season. It's a time of increased social events, more temptation foods, more indulgent foods being around, possibly more stress, more social pressure, more sabotage. I know for lots of people, they feel like it's all too much, right? They just want to throw their hands in the air and give up. Thinking, I'll start again in January. And the trouble is, for most people, that means gaining weight over the next few months and then having to spend the first few months, maybe the first quarter of 2021 of next year, undoing all of that holiday weight gain. Just getting back to where you are now. Except that, if you've been following mistake number 1 today, you've probably also heaped on there a whole heap of guilt and frustration and disappointment on top of it. I know it's possible to start the new year lighter than you are now, proud of your efforts, and already living your healthy life. That's what I've done every year for the past 13 years. I've lost or maintained weight every Christmas, every festive season, every holiday. And I want to help you do that. I want to help you break the cycle of getting to this time of year, having overeating occasions, having unhealthy eating, and then going, stuff it, I've blown it, whatever, I'll start again later. Particularly at the festive holiday time of the year. So, I want to let you know, I'm also offering a free training in our Weight Loss for Life Facebook community called Healthy Holiday Habits. It's going to be over 5 days of Facebook Lives from November 16 to 2020. And during that time, I'll show you 5 habits to help you manage the holiday celebrations and still fit into your clothes come January. And doing it without feeling like you're having to miss out or be deprived of the holiday foods, because you don't. You really can have them in a healthy balance. So if you'd like to join me for Healthy Holiday Habits, make sure you click the link in the description to register. You can learn more on that page. And whether you join me or not, I'd really like you to let me know in the comments. If you've had an overeating or an unhealthy eating occasion, or after your next one, what will you do now to move you forward towards your healthy life? What will you do now to move you forward towards your healthy life? Come up with a plan. Be kind to yourself. Envision that future. And let's make it happen. Give me a like, give me a heart. And let me know in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube or on my video blog, make sure you subscribe to get notified of every new video.